Now tell me, where did we stop last day? Where did we stop last day? Make it fast. Quickly tell me.
Test to identify lipids.
Did we write that test?
Yes, teach. Yes, miss.
And that is the last thing we wrote, no?
Yes.
All right. Api enzymes ivara karada lamai? Ah, right. Okay. We finished enzymes, no? Okay. Okay. Let me share the screen. Let me share the whiteboard. Okay. Can you all tell me, can all of you see the whiteboard? If you can see, please give me a thumbs up. If you cannot see, try clicking on the link that I'm sending in the group. පේනවා නම් මට thumbs up එකක් දෙන්න. පේන්නේ නැති කට්ටිය group එකේ in the main chat I have sent a link. Click on that link and see if you can see. Okay. So the last thing that we wrote was test to identify lipids, right? That means අපි lipids වල තමයි අන්තිමට ඉවර කරලා තියෙන්නේ. So today we are going to start nucleic acids. All right. So what did we talk about so far? Since we are meeting after 2 weeks, we had last week holidays. Let's revise a bit. What is the what polysaccharide can you find in the answers Markiana you can put in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and unmute and tell me. What is the polysaccharide that you can find in the cell wall of plants?
Cellulose.
Others? Only one? Okay, there are 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is cellulose. And then what is known as fruit sugar? What is known as fruit sugar? Then what is the carbohydrate that is absent in plants? What is the carbohydrate that is absent in plants? Or what is the sugar that is, or what is the disaccharide that is absent in plants? Lactose. Yes. And what are lipids made up of? What are lipids made up of? What are lipids made up of? Anamai? Fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. So mama tama harata meka kenne. We didn't do like a proper revision. I just wanted to like slightly revise. But there's so much more that we talked about, right? We talked about like we did a small introduction to the lesson. We talked about carbohydrates. Under carbohydrates, we said that there are 3 types called monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Then we said we talked about each and every type. Under monosaccharides, we talked about glucose, fructose, galactose. And then under disaccharides, we talked about maltose, sucrose, lactose. And then under polysaccharides, we talked about starch, cellulose, and glycogen. And then we also learned the significance of carbohydrates, and then we learned the tests that we conduct to identify carbohydrates. We did the starch test, we did the test for glucose, and we did the test for sucrose. Keep studying. Huh? Studying doesn't mean that you spend hours. So maybe like let's say the first time you study, if you haven't revised it so far, the first time you study, it will take like 1 or 2 hours. But after that, if you continuously revise, let's say today I took like 1 or 2 hours and I properly studied the lesson. Then tomorrow I just take 5 minutes and quickly go through the pages. Everything will like, my memory will get refreshed. Then the day after tomorrow, again, like 4-5 minutes, I quickly go through the pages. Okay, once you properly give time to study, and let's say you don't revise it for like 2-3 weeks, you don't remember anything. Then you will have to start all over again and again spend like 2-3 hours to study it. Let's say today I took 2-3 hours and studied. Then එක දිගට සතියක් මම හැමදාම නිකන් 5 minutes වගේ revise කරනවා. It's just 5 minutes. You can't say that you don't have 5 minutes. You're just starting out. It's like you don't have to study things all over again because your memory will every day get refreshed. Okay. So then after that, we talked about proteins. We talked about the significance of proteins, and we talked about the tests that we can conduct to identify proteins. And then we learned about lipids. Under lipids, we said how lipids are formed, the significance of lipids, and also the tests to identify lipids. So today we are going to talk about nucleic acids, right? Who the topic nucleic acids? Who the topic nucleic acids? All right. So lamai, now api mulima kata kara when we were talking about carbohydrates. What are the elements that make up carbohydrates? What are the elements that make up carbohydrates? What are the elements that make up carbohydrates? Quickly. Carbon,
Oxygen,
hydrogen.
hydrogen.
Yes,
Oxygen, hydrogen.
Yes. Carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. CHO, CHO. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Then what about proteins? What about proteins? Yes. Others?
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen.
Okay. Others? CHON. 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 That is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. What about lipids?
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen.
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Yes. So, in proteins, we learned that it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, but sometimes sulfur may be present, right? But sometimes. In lipids, yes, it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Now, in nucleic acids, elements monada, there's carbon, there is hydrogen, there is oxygen, there is nitrogen, hydrogen proteins wage, but we also have another one called phosphorus. This is like always there, right? So මේ පස් දෙනා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම ඉන්නවා. They're definitely present in all nucleic acids. We say CHONP, CHONP, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus, right? So nucleic acids, if you take, they're like a long chain, okay? Just like how proteins are made up of amino acids, nucleic acids are made up of something called nucleotides, right? When we take nucleic acids, there are two types of nucleic acids. One is called DNA. So DNA means, just listen. I will give a note separately. DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid. Then there's another type of nucleic acid called RNA. RNA means ribonucleic acid. Okay. So if you take nucleic acids, all nucleic acids are made up of something called nucleotide. Nucleotide කියන්නේ චූටි unit එකක්. ඒ චූටි units ගොඩාක් repeat වෙලා තමයි nucleic acid එකක් හැදෙන්නේ. Just like how polysaccharides are made up of a lot of monosaccharides, no? And then proteins are made up of a lot of amino acids. Like that, nucleic acids are made up of a lot of nucleotides. If you take one nucleotide, there is something like this. Then there is something like this. And there's something like this. This structure usually in the textbook, if they give something as extra knowledge, that means they don't ask that for the exam. Okay? That is just for your curiosity. But since you need to know, like you need to have some context, no, that is why I'm explaining this. Okay? So, phosphate group. This is just one nucleotide. One nucleotide, phosphate group. This is called pentose sugar. This is called nitrogenous base. So this whole unit is one nucleotide. Like that, hundreds and millions, hundreds and thousands and millions of nucleotides will arrange to form a nucleic acid. Okay? And then we said there are two types of nucleic acids as DNA and RNA. Now DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, is made up of, nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides. Then deoxyribonucleic acid is made up of deoxyribonucleotide. All nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides. Then deoxyribonucleic acid is made up of deoxyribonucleotide. And ribonucleic acid is made up of ribonucleotide. AVAS structures, whenever you don't need to know, that is too complicated. But you just need to have an idea only. Up to that point, is it clear? Everybody? Everybody, is it clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay. All right. Now, what are these nucleic acids? Now we know there are two types of nucleic acids as DNA and RNA. And we know nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides. So DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid is made up of deoxyribonucleotide. And ribonucleic acid is made up of ribonucleotide. That is what we discussed so far. So what is this DNA? Have you heard anything about DNA? If you have, what? What have you heard about DNA? What have you heard about DNA?
It's in our body.
It is in our body. Okay, good. What else? Yes, Maria, it's present in our body.
Genetic.
It's genetic. Yes, Sala. Then give me yes, it identifies a person. Sasheli also said it's present in our body. What else? What is, have you heard of DNA or what you know of DNA?
Every person has like different DNAs from each other.
Yes, definitely. Good. People
Can
have
find
different.
generations.
Yes. Okay, good. Yes. Generations. Then yes, something with genes to generation to generation. Yes, Anudi. So yes, you seem to have a rough idea about what DNA is, because DNA is something that we talk a lot, no, in generally also. We talk about it a bit, right? We say, okay, we say genetic, we say genes, and we say sometimes I may look like my mother or my father and my father because of the DNA. And you may have heard that you get the DNA from your parents, right? And you may also have heard, if you have if you have read crime related novels, or if you have watched crime related series or movies, you may know that police or whoever investigates, they take DNA samples from the crime scene and they try to identify the criminal. Have you seen that? No?
Yeah.
Yes, no? So DNA is something very special. My DNA will never be equal to another person's DNA. So that point was made by y'all. That is true. It's different from a person to person, right? That is why sometimes DNA it's like a fingerprint. Usually, my fingerprint will never be equal to another person's fingerprint. ඒ වගේ තමයි DNA. My DNA will never be equal to another person's DNA. Okay. So DNA has so many functions. එකක් තමයි, as you said, අපේ body එකේ තියෙන genetic information. Genetic information are the information that are transferred from generation to generation. So whatever the characteristics you have, maybe you have long hair, maybe you have short hair, maybe you have fair skin, or maybe you have dark skin, or maybe you have large eyes or small eyes, or let's say a round face, sharp nose, or let's say plump lips or thin lips. හැම දෙයක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ appearance එකේ, සමහර ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ personality traits ඒවා එන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ parents ලාගේ. Parents ට වෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ parents ලාගේ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට එන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ parents ලාගේ. Likewise, most of these characters, they pass from generation to generation. And then from your generation, it will pass to the next generation, and then to the next generation. That kind of information is what we call genetic information. No, it's actually not in blood. DNA තියෙන blood වල නෙවෙයි. Right? අපේ body එක හැදලා තියෙන cells වලින් අපි 6th lesson එකේ කතා කරනවා. Our body is made up of cells. Inside the cells there's DNA. So blood වලත් cells තියෙනවා. Cells වල තමයි DNA තියෙන්නේ. So it's not just blood specifically. We'll talk about it later. Right? So එතකොට, if you take your DNA in your body, that DNA stores the genetic information relevant to your body. ඔයාට අදාළ ඔක්කොම genetic information ටික අරක store වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Right? හරියට නිකන් Google Drive එකක් වගේ. That's like you can store things like a folder. Right? And then also DNA is what is responsible for transferring genetic information. From your parents, you got the genetic information. From your grandparents, your parents got the genetic information. Likewise, those genetic information transferred from generations to generations. That transferring part also DNA does. In addition to that, Lamai, okay, let me ask you a question. If you take a computer, there are different parts, no, like the monitor, keyboard, mouse. I have like zero IT knowledge, like maybe speakers, microphone, whatever, right? I'm not in. Maybe like you can connect printers, whatever, right? Then there are like hard drives, all of that. So what exactly controls everything that happens in the computer? What is the controlling unit of the computer?
CPU.
Okay. Do others also think the same?
Yes.
Yes, it is CPU. Motherboard is like where all the circuits are held. That is where all the circuits are held and the current flow is managed. But CPU overall is what controls everything, right? So motherboard is like a part of the CPU. So just like how without the CPU, even if you have all the other parts of the computer, your computer will not operate. The CPU must be there. Just like that, in your body, in your cells, all the activities are controlled by DNA. DNA තමයි ඔක්කොම activities control කරන එක්කෙනා. Okay, so it controls this should be produced, this should happen, that should happen. Likewise, that is the one that controls everything. Then what is this RNA? Why is RNA so important? RNA is something that we have never heard, no? DNA නම් අපි අහලා තියෙනවානේ, like ඔය එක movies වල අර මේ අහලා තියෙනවා, නැත්නම් even day to day life you may have come across, you may have heard that term. But RNA is not a term that you have heard, right? What is this RNA? Now, when I say organisms or when I say living organisms, what do I mean by that? Living organisms that අයිති වෙන්නේ කවුද? Who are living organisms?
Which breeds?
Yes, for an example,
Animals, plants, microorganisms.
animals, plants, microorganisms. Yes. Microorganisms include maybe fungi, bacteria, ඒ වගේ. But ළමයි, again in the 6th lesson, 8th lesson. 8th lesson අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නවා, you know viruses, no? Right? So if you take influenza fever එක හැදෙන්නේ virus හින්දා. ඔකට common cold හැදෙන්නේ virus එකක් හින්දා. And then also, let's say COVID. COVID, you got COVID because of the coronavirus, COVID-19 virus. And then AIDS. Likewise, there are so many diseases that are caused by viruses, right? So, lamai, just like us, the viruses, we don't consider them exactly living. Api living kiyan naha hariyata viruses ata. That part we'll talk about later. But just like DNA stores all the genetic information of animals and plants and microorganisms, RNA is present in viruses. Viruses again, let's say coronavirus, COVID-19 virus, inside the coronavirus, there are RNA molecules. Okay. Then inside RNA, all the information related to that virus is stored. එතකොට ඒකෙන් තමයි කියන්නේ virus එකට දැන් ඔයා මේකට enter වෙන්න. දැන් ඔයා ඒකට ගිහලා multiply වෙන්න. දැන් ලෙඩේ හදන්න. ඒ වගේ all the activities of that particular virus is controlled by RNA inside the virus. That is a very special thing about RNA. Okay, RNA is present in viruses. Okay. හැබැයි viruses වල විතරක් නෙවෙයි ළමයි. Actually in our body also there's RNA. අපේ body එකේ කොහොමද DNA තියෙනවානේ. But in addition to DNA, our body also has RNA. Viruses වලත් තියෙනවා කොහොමද. But අපේ body එකේ තියෙනවා. මොකටද අපේ body එකේ තියෙන්නේ? No, not in DNA. RNA separately in DNA separately in. Okay. RNA again has a very special and a very important function in our body. So, lamai, usually when we say proteins, we eat a lot of proteins, no? Api godak velavat, let's say you are not vegetarian or vegan, then you eat like all the different types of meat, right? And maybe eggs or anything like that. Then let's say you are a vegan person or a vegetarian person, you still like eat protein rich food like soya or dal or beans or anything like that. So generally අපිට ඕනේ proteins ගොඩක් අපි කෑම වලින් ගන්නවා. හැබැයි ඔක්කොම proteins අපිට කෑම වලින් ගන්න බෑ. Some of these proteins are produced inside our body. Some of the proteins your body needs, they are produced inside your body. Inside the body. A proteins hadannat RNA udav karna. Right? That is why RNA is present in our body. In our body, RNA is responsible for producing certain proteins. So then what did we talk about so far? We said DNA can store genetic information. DNA can transfer genetic information from one generation to another. And then we said DNA can control the activities of a cell. It's like the CPU, right? Because RNA ගැන අපි මොනවද කිව්වේ? RNA is present in viruses, controlling the tasks of viruses and storing their genetic information. And in our body also, RNA is present for production of proteins. Production කියන වචනටම තමයි අපි synthesis කියලා කියන්නේ. Synthesis of proteins. Up to that point, is it clear? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear, lamai. Okay. Everybody? Okay. Then I think we are good to write. Monat liyan epa. Give me a second. Let me just organize whatever I scribbled here. Monat liyan epa lamai. Not yet. Give me a second, please. Right yet. This nucleotide, actually, you don't need to memorize the diagram, but we will still include it in the note. Yes, now start writing. Now start writing. Let me move the board a little down here. 1 second. Okay. Medically, I'm gonna let me know when you're done. Quickly write. Rasya, can you see now?
No, teacher, that I cannot see the letters. Let me.
Here,
Yeah.
I
Ah.
think my handwriting is not that clear. One second. Let me just. This is called the phosphate group. And then this pentagon shaped thing is called pentose sugar. Then this rectangle-like thing is called nitrogenous base. Let me know when I'm done, Lamai. Who needs more time? Anybody who needs more time, Lamai? Time over, na? Thank you, or I will move on. Still writing. Okay. I will give you 1 minute. Quickly write. Okay. Quickly write. Okay, let's move on. Now we were talking about the importance of apicua nucleic acids monada use DNA monada use karanne, then RNA monada use karanne, and all that we will write now. So let's put a small subtopic. Let's put a small subtopic. Significance of nucleic acids. මේක නම් මාතකම ලිව්වත් කමක් නෑ ළමයි. This last point I will explain a bit now. මෙන්නම ලියාගෙන ඉන්න. Quickly write these points ළමයි. We'll try to finish the lesson within today. And then I will send you the worksheet for this lesson. ඒක homework විතර කරගෙන we can discuss it next week. Quickly write this. I'll give you 2 more minutes to write. Okay. For others, 2 more minutes. ලියන ගම මම explain කරන්න මෙන්න මේ last point එක. What is this? Variations occur in DNA due to mutations, and this is important for evolution. What does that mean? Now, so have you seen in movies or in pictures or documentaries or anything like that? Have you seen the early stages of human beings? Ogan dakala tiyawada, the early stages of human beings, they don't have a straight backbone neither. They are very hunched. They are hunchback. Have you seen that? කොන්ද ඇද වෙලාන තියෙන කොන්ද නැවිලා තියෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ. කොන්ද කෙලින් නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ. Yes, Okay, I'm sorry. So, early stages, human beings had a curved back, right? And then, ඒක තමයි ඒ කාලේ normal එක. The normal was having a curved back. Curved කියන්නේ නැවිච්ච, like a bent back. එතකොට ඒක තමයි normal. හැමෝම කටින normal කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ නැවිච්ච back එකක් තමයි තිබ්බේ. ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක්ට විතරක් කෙලින් back එකක් තියලා ඉපදුනා. So, what do you think? Straight back එක තිබ්බ එක්කෙනා would be the weird person, right? Because now everybody has like hunched backs. Just one person were born with a straight back. That person would be considered weird. නේද? මොකද හැමෝටම තියෙන එක නෙමෙයිනේ. ඒ අතර එක්කෙනෙක්ට විතරක් කෙලින් back එකක් එක්ක ඉපදුනහම that person is the weird one. ඒ වගේ එකට අපි කියනවා mutation එකක් කියලා. Right? Mutation. So when we hear the word mutation, අපිට එකපාරට එන්නේ negative idea එකක්. Mutation එක කියන්නේ නරක දෙයක් වගේ. But mutations are not always bad. Okay? Mutations actually what helps for evolution. So earlier human beings, they had a like hunched back, and out of that one person was born with a straight back. That one person was a mutation. But that was a good mutation. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ straight back එක තියෙන කෙනා තව කවරි organism කෙනෙක් එකතු වෙලා තව ළමෙක් හදනවා. ඒ ළමයාට සමහරට straight back එක යන්න පුළුවන්. හිතන්න ළමයි දෙන්නෙක් හැදුවා කියලා. දෙන්නට straight back එක ගියා. ඒගොල්ලන් ගිහලා තව කාත් එක්ක හරි ළමයි හදනවා. Again the next generation would also have straight back. ඒතර ඒ එක මිනිස්සයාගෙන් straight back එක තියෙන කට්ටිය තව generations හැදෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. Okay. So then එතකොට straight back එක තියෙන කට්ටිය වැඩි වෙනවා. Then now also another thing is that straight back people would find certain things more advantageous. හිතන්න ගහකින් ගෙඩියක් කඩද්දී උනත් straight back එකක් තියෙන කෙනෙකුට reach කරන්න ලේසි. Curved back එකක් තියෙන කෙනෙකුට වඩා. So එන්න curved back එක තියෙන කට්ටිය අඩු වෙලා straight back එක තියෙන කට්ටිය වැඩි වෙනවා. Always ළමයි evolution. You know කොහොමද evolution උනේ කියලා අපි දන්නවනේ. මුලින්ම you know, you guys, I mean, we, all of us human beings, we come from monkeys. From monkeys, then chimpanzees, then orangutan, and then human beings, right? Human beings වගේ එක stages වල තියලා එක විදිහට තමයි evolution උනේ. මුලදී අර මූණ නිකන් ලොකුයි, like a big jaw and a big forehead, very pointy face and a curved back. And then slowly we evolved to have like a proportionate face, small forehead, smaller jaws, and then like straight back. So likewise, evolution always happens because of mutations. එතන හිතන්න orang-utan ගෙනින් orang-utans ගොඩාක් ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ එක්කෙනෙක් නිකන් පොඩ human form එකේ ඉපදුනා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ හැටට එයා weird එක්කෙනෙක්. So that person would be a mutation. හැබැයි එයා හින්දා තමයි human කියන human කියන species හැදුනේ. So අපෙනුත් එහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන්. From human beings, it's not anytime soon, of course. These things take millions of years. But let's say from human beings, one person would be born differently. So we call it a mutation. But that person will reproduce and form more and more generations with that good mutation. It could be a good mutation. I mean, that's possible, right? So, ඔගන් දන්නවනේ අර මේ කවුද අපේ Ninja Turtles ලා අර 4 දෙනා ඉන්නේ. You know, right? Ninja Turtles. They are like normal turtles, but they were born like big. I mean, it's fiction. It's just a cartoon or like a movie, but it's fiction. But still, to give you an example, do you all know Ninja Turtles? Have you watched the movie or read or anything? Cartoon or whatever. Yes, so normal turtles and normal turtles are just turtles. But from those normal turtles, there was some sort of an experiment, and those 4 were mutations. So they were born differently, weirdly. But maybe it's a good mutation. Okay. So my mutations can have been in DNA. Okay. So that is why I included that one as well. Now our next section is this. What are the biomolecules that we have learned so far? We talked about carbohydrates. We talked about proteins. We talked about lipids. And then lastly, today we talked about nucleic acids. If you take all of these, excuse me. If you take all of these, commonly තියෙන elements මොනවාද? Carbon is a commonly found element. Hydrogen උත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් commonly තියෙනවා. හතර දෙනාටම carbon තියෙනවා, හතර දෙනාටම hydrogen තියෙනවා. Oxygen is also very common. Carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, all of them have oxygen. Nitrogen is also pretty common. Carbohydrates වලට නැහැ, but proteins have. Then lipids don't, but again nucleic acids have. So generally, අපි then phosphorus sulfur අපි ගන්න නැහැ, but මේ හතර දෙනා we consider them the most common elements. Right? So we are going to do an experiment and see අපි කියනවානේ carbohydrates වල carbon, hydrogen, oxygen තියෙනවා කියලා. Then we say proteins වල carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen තියෙනවා. Likewise, we just say that. But how do we prove that? මේ element එක ඉන්නවද කියලා prove කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා තමයි බලන්න හදා. Okay. So don't write anything, just listen. Here, මම මුලින්ම test කරන්නේ මේ ඔය biomolecules like carbohydrates maybe, proteins maybe, lipids maybe, nucleic acids නම් test කරන්න බෑලම මොකද අපේ මිනිස්සෙගේ DNA අරගෙන lab එකේ කරන්න අමාරුයි. So nucleic acids we don't generally test, but for carbohydrates, proteins, lipids we can easily test. We are first going to test whether they have hydrogen and oxygen. ඒකට මම කරන්නේ, do you all know the chemical name of water? What is the chemical compound name of water? H2O. So mama මොකක් හරි කෑමක of any food, if I prove that water is there, මම මොකක් හරි විදිහකින් prove කරනවා water තියෙනවා කියලා. If I prove that water is there, since water is H2O, මට කියන්න පුළුවන් නේද hydrogen, oxygen අනිවාර්යෙන් තියෙනවා කියලා. Because if I can prove that something has water, it obviously has hydrogen and oxygen, right? Because water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay. එහෙනම් මම මුලින්ම බලන්නේ water තියනවාද කියලා. Right? I'm gonna first check if these biomolecules have water. If it has water, then hydrogen and oxygen are present. ඒකනේ මම කැම ටිකක් ගන්නවා. You can take different types of food. So I'm gonna take meat. I'm gonna take some eggshells. I'm gonna take some plant leaves. You can take a variety of food. ඔන්න වගේ ටිකක් ගන්නවා. අරගෙන මම මොකද කරන්නේ? I'm going to first of all take a mortar and pestle. Right? Let me show you a picture of mortar and pestle. නිකන් ළමයි ඔයගලන්ගේ ගෙවල් වල තියෙනනේ වංගෙඩිය මෝල් ගහ. වංගෙඩි මෝල් ගහ කියන්නේ චුට්ටක් බල්කි ෆෝම් එකක්නේ. ලැබ් එකේ අපිට තියෙනවා සෙරමික් වලින් හදපු mortar and pestle එකක්. Like this, can you see this picture, all of you? One second. So, this is mortar and pestle. This vessel is called mortar and this මෝල් ගහ වගේ එක අපි කියන්නේ pestle කියලා. Okay? So what I do is I take a particular food, let's say meat, eggshells or plant leaves, and I put it inside and I grind or crush. Grind or crush using the pestle. You know, like වංගෙඩිය මෝල් ගහයි ගත්තාම ඔයා නිකන් මෝල් ගහයි මෙහෙම grind කරන කෙන කරන්නේ තලලා mix කරලා එහෙමනේ කරන්නේ. The same thing you do with this, right? And then එහෙම කරලා you get a certain taste, no? Once you get that paste, you are going to take something called a crucible. So let me show you what crucible means. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, crucible. Let me show you what a crucible looks like. Crucible. Crucible is also like just like a normal vessel. මෙන්න මේ වගේ normal ceramic වලින් හදපු එකක් තමයි crucible කියලා කියන්නේ. Can you all see this picture? Okay. So, whether it's meat or eggshells or plant leaves or any kind of food, අපි එක dry form එකෙන් තමයි ළමයි ගන්න ඕනේ. Right? නිකම් wet වෙච්ච moist ඒවා නෙමෙයි අපි ගන්නේ dry form එකෙන්. So dry form එකෙන් අරගෙන වෙන වෙනම අපි ඒව crush කරනවා. Grind කරලා crush කරනවා using mortar and pestle. And then what we do it is that we put each of them into these crucibles. Let's say meat කියලා අපි වෙන වෙනමනේ crush කරේ, right? So I take a crucible like this. I can't draw well, but I hope you get the idea. This is like a crucible. Inside the crucible, I put whatever the meat or whatever that I crushed. Let's say make it meat. Then I take another crucible. Then for that, I put the crushed eggshells. Then I take another crucible. And I put the plant leaves that I crushed. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat all of this. I can hold like a Bunsen burner. It's like a candle, right? Not exactly, but niyan candle එක වගේ මෙහෙම පත්තු වෙන Bunsen burner එකක් අල්ලන්න. So from that you can heat. While you heat this, you are going to take a glass sheet. Glass කෑල්ලක් අරගෙන මේක උඩින් අල්ලන් ඉන්න ඕනේ. You hold it above this. You can hold it above this. You can also hold it above this. Okay. Now, what do you think will happen? When I continuously heat this, I can see that there's like a small mist forming. මේකුණේ පොඩි steam එකක් වගේ හැදෙනවා. Steam එකක් වගේ සාමාන්‍ය ළමයි, let's say water boil වෙද්දී if you hold like something above it, it gets the steam no. ඒ වගේ මේකේ steam එක වගේ වදිනවා. Here also the steam. Here also the steam. There's like a steam forming on that glass sheet. Up to that point, did you understand? Okay. Then separate කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔක්කොම mix කරගෙන කරන්නත් බෑ. අපි මේ ගන්නේව ඔක්කොම dry form එකෙන් ගන්නත් ඕනේ. නැත්නම් එතන වතුර තිබොත් ඒ වතුර ටිකනේ මෙතනට යන්නේ. එහෙම බෑ. We have to take this in dry form. And then we have to crush and do this. So once there's like a steam on the glass sheet, I'm gonna take the glass sheet out. චුට්ටක් වෙලා තියෙද්දි ළමයි අර steam එක liquid droplets වෙනවා. අර steam එක චුට්ටක් වෙලා යනකොට water droplets හැදෙනවා. මේ glass sheet එකේ. Small water droplets are forming on the glass sheet. That steam is converted to tiny water droplets. Sorry, water නෙවෙයි liquid droplets. අපි තාම දන්නේ water ද කියලා. What I see is a transparent liquid. So you know all transparent liquids are not water නේ. It's just a transparent liquid. ඊළඟට ළමයි lab එකේ අපිට තියෙනවා එකක්. It is called anhydrous cobalt chloride. It's a powder. Anhydrous cobalt chloride. Chloride. This is a powder and it's blue color. මම මේ powder එක අර liquid droplets ටිකට දානවා. මේ powder එක මෙන්න මේ කුඩට දානවා. දාලා මම බලන් ඉද්දි I can see that this turns to pink color. Anhydrous cobalt chloride, which is blue in color, will turn to pink color. If that happens, I'm very sure this is water. එහෙම නැත්නම් there's another thing that you can do. There's another white color powder called anhydrous copper sulfate. There's a white color powder called anhydrous copper sulfate. This is actually white, huh? White. Anhydrous means lamai watura naha කියන එක, dry කියන එක. So when I put that to this liquid droplets, that will turn to blue color. That also can be used to confirm that this is water. Okay. Yes, Razia. Please send me a reminder. I will send the recording. Okay. Yes, I was going to explain again. Yes. So let me explain this one more time. What did I do? Now, api mama then try karane lamai. We say that this element is there, carbon is there, hydrogen is there, oxygen, nitrogen මේවා තියෙනවා කියලා කියනවානේ අපේ biomolecules වල. සාමාන්‍ය science කියන්නේ නිකන් කවුරුහරි කිව්වොත් if I say this is present, you shouldn't believe me. That is how science works. Science වල හැම වෙලෙම co-proof. Show us proof. Show up like prove it to us. Evidence. ඒව තමයි හැම වෙලෙම අහන්නේ. ඒකනේ experiment කරලා පෙන්නන්න ඕනේ. මෙතන මම first experiment එකේ කරන්නේ hydrogen and oxygen තියනවාද කියලා බලන්න. Since hydrogen and oxygen together form water, in a particular food item, if I can prove that there is water present, and water is H2O නේ. Water තියනවා නම් මට කියන්න පුළුවන් H and O තියනවා කියලා. Because water is made up of H and O. ඒක තමයි මම කරන්න හදන්නේ. For that, I take some food items. So I take some meat, I take some eggshells, I take some plant leaves. ඔගන් තව මොන හරි ගන්න පුළුවන්. අරගෙන I make sure I get them in the dry form. Moist වෙන්න බෑ. Right? හොඳට dry form එකෙන් ගන්න ඕනේ. අරගෙන each of them separately, meat, eggshells, plant leaves ඔක්කොම එකතු කරලා එකට නෙවෙයි. Separately, I put into this what we call this is mortar and pestle. ඒක එච්චර දැනගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Just lab එකේ අපි හොඳට grind කරනවා. මෙහෙම crush කරලා හොඳට grind කරනවා. Right? Then you get like a paste or like a powder situation. Paste powder වගේ එකක් තමයි එන්නේ. ඒක ඔයා මෙන්න මේ වගේ crucible එකකට දානවා. This is what we call a crucible. So meat crush කරලා grind කරලා වෙනම crucible එකකට දානවා. Then eggshells crush and grind කරලා වෙනම crucible එකකට දානවා. Plant leaves crush or grind කරලා වෙනම crucible එකකට දානවා. දාලා you heat all of them separately. You can use a Bunsen burner for that. For any of you who have not seen a Bunsen burner, this is roughly how it looks like. This is roughly how a Bunsen burner looks like. Okay. So you heat them separately. So while you're heating these in the crucible is like a ceramic vessel. While you're heating them in the crucible using a Bunsen burner, you take a glass sheet. Put a glass කැල්ලක් put a sheet එකක් අරගෙන you hold it above. මේ මම blue වලින් පෙන්නලා තියෙන්නේ. This is a glass sheet. You hold it above. Then I can see that from the when I'm heating that food, some sort of a steam එකක් වගේ එකක් මෙතන වදිනවා. Like a steam on the glass sheet. Then once I take that glass sheet away and keep it like this, I can see that the steam, whatever the steam-like thing that was formed, it turns to liquid droplets. So that's liquid droplets. I can't say for sure whether it's water. Then මොකද කරන්නේ? lab එකේ තියෙන powder එකක්. It's called anhydrous cobalt chloride. Anhydrous means dry කියන එක. So anhydrous cobalt chloride is actually a blue color powder. මම මොකද කරන්නේ? මේ liquid droplets වලට අර blue color powder එකෙන් මෙහෙම හිනවා. චුට්ටක් දාන්න. දැම්මහම this blue color powder will turn to pink color. එහෙම pink color වුණොත් මට කියන්න පුළුවන් එහෙනම් this liquid is water. Because when a liquids වලට එක pink වෙන්නේ නැහැ. water වලට විතරයි pink වෙන්නේ. Or anhydrous cobalt chloride තිබුණ නැත්නම් there is another powder in lab called anhydrous copper sulfate. That is a white color powder. ඔයාට ඕනේ ඒක දාන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක දැම්මොත් if it turns blue color, again we can say that it is water. Because when a liquids තිබ්බා කියලා anhydrous copper sulfate blue වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Only when water is present. So then එහෙම මෙන්න මේ දෙකෙන් මොකක් හරි එක color change එකක් ආවොත් you can say water is present. You know water is H2O. So H2O is present. H2O තියෙනවා කියන්නේ hydrogen උත් තියෙනවා oxygen උත් තියෙනවා. From that we can confirm that particular food item has hydrogen and oxygen. Is that clear? I need all of you to respond. Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Anika, Joshua, Kushit, Jevindu, Sala, Stephanie. Jevindu, Kushit. All right. අපි ළමයි ඔක්කොම එකට කරන්නද we'll do step by step. We'll first of all write this. මුනිම එකක් ලියන්න එපා. Let's write together. Let's put a topic. Put the topic with me. H2O. ලොකුවට විස්තරයක් ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Let's just write it very simply, ah. Add the Kushit. Can you see now? Quickly write this, Lamai. Make it Let me know if you're done, Lamai. Anybody who needs more time before we move on? Okay, sure. Okay, sure. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Who needs more time? Anyone who needs more time, Lamai? Okay. 1 more minute. Okay, let's move on. Now we are going to check if carbon is present in biomolecules, right? So how are we going to do this? Again, we are going to take some food items and we are also going to take several crucibles, just like the previous one. Crucibles can monada, they are like ceramic vessels. Do you remember, right? They are like ceramic vessels. So we'll use the same items that they have used in the textbook, right? So we are going to use spinach stems. Actually, lamai spinach can niviti ne. Niviti stem එක කියලා කියනට hard part එක. කියන්නේ hard ම නැහැ, but උගා නිවිති ගෙනාවොත් ඒව කොළ කොටස නෙමෙයි අර මැද නට්ට වගේ තියෙන කොටස, that is the stem. Even the leaves you can use. Okay. Spinach stems. Then fish, pieces of fish. Pieces of fish. And also chickpea. Chickpea කියන්නේ මොනවාද? What is chickpea ළමයි?
මුං ඇට.
Mung atta is green gram. Mung beans. Chickpea can. It's kadala. Okay. Chickpea is kadala, mung atta is green grams. Okay. So අපි මේවා අරගෙන we are going to take several crucibles, right? So first of all, මේවා it's not necessary for us to take them in the dry form. මේවා dry ම ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා එකක් නැහැ. As usual, මේවා separately අපි mortar and pestle අරගෙන grind කරනවා. We crush and grind and we make pastes. තුනේම වෙන වෙනම paste එකක් හදාගන්න. අර dry විදිහට ගත්තොත් නේ powder වෙන්නේ, but මේවා dry කරලා නෙවෙයි ගන්නෙ. So therefore when you crush and grind you can get some sort of powder. Sorry, some sort of a paste, right? Now pulp එකක් වගේ. And then මොකද කරන්නේ? දැන් මෙතන there are 3 types of food items, so I'm going to take 3 crucibles. අරගෙන මම grind කරලා crush කරලා pulp එකක් වගේ හදාගත්තානේ. එන්නේ pulp එක මේකට දානවා. So spinach stems වලින් හදපු pulp එක I will put to this. Fish වලින් හදපු pulp එක I will put to this. Chickpea වලින් හදපු pulp එක I will put to this. Right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this very well. හොඳට heat කරනවා මේක. Bunsen burner එකේ හොඳට heat කරනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට මෙහෙම light එකකින් ඇතුළටත් flame එක අල්ලනවා. It's a bit risky, but sometimes it's also done. But you can just heat like this. Now this actually takes some time. මේකට වෙලාව යනවා. ගොඩාක් වෙලා heat කරන්න ඕනේ. අර කර වෙනකම් වගේ කියන්නේ කර වෙනකම් වගේ heat කරන්න ඕනේ. So after some time you can see that they all become dark. The more you heat it, you can see each pulp becomes a bit dark. Dark වුණාට පස්සේ ඒ කියන්නේ අන්තිමට ඉතුරු වෙන ටිකනේ. What you take is you take a piece of white paper. You take this particular pulp. මේ දැන් වර dark වෙලා higher කියන්නේ මේ අර final ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙන නිකන් dark වෙච්ච නිකන් කර වෙලා වගේ තියෙන pulp එක. අරගෙන ඔයා මේ white paper එකේ ඒකට like you rub this pulp, the dried the dark pulp on the white paper. When you rub, you can see that මෙහෙම ඉරිරි ඇඳෙනවා. When you rub this pulp all over the white paper, ඉරිරි ඇඳෙනවා. Right, ඉරිරි ඇඳෙනවා මෙන්න මෙහෙම. So you try all of this to the rest as well. අනිත් ඒවාට තුවා use කරනවා. අනිත් ඒවාට තුවා you do the same. Actually, ළමයි this is අඟුරු. අඟුරු. නිකන් කළු පාටින් ඉරි ඇඳෙනවා කියන්නේ අඟුරු හැදිලා. අඟුරු means charcoal means it's carbon. From this we can confirm that carbon is present. සාමාන්‍ය අපි අඟුරු කියලා කියන්නේ අඟුරු කෑල්ල දන්නවනේ උගලා. Charcoal කෑල්ල, that is actually carbon. Charcoal is made of carbon. So let me explain that one more time. You take different food items. So here I'm taking spinach stems, pieces of fish and chickpeas separately. And then I grind. So unlike the previous time, here you don't have to get them in the dried form. Dry kala ganna ඕන කියලා එකක් නැහැ. Right? So what you do is, you put each of these, you grind and crush each of these using mortar and pestle. හොඳට grind කරලා එතකොට අර නිකන් pulp එක නිකන් මොකද්ද paste එකක් වගේ එනවනේ pulp එකක් වගේ. එතන spinach stems වලින් හැදිච්ච pulp එක you put to a separate crucible. The pulp made by the fish you put to another crucible. Then the pulp made by the chickpeas you put to a different crucible. And then the 3 crucibles, you heat them separately. So you have to heat this for quite some time. කපාට heat කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ගොඩක් වෙලා heat කරන්න ඕනේ. Heat කරගෙන ටිකක් වෙලා යනකොට අන්තිමට ඉතුරු වෙන එක something like the pulp becomes a bit dark. ඒ ඉතුරු වෙන එක ඔයා white color paper එක මෙහෙම rub කරනවා. Then if there are lines drawn, I can confirm that that particular pulp has become charcoal. Charcoal තියනවා කියලා කියන්නේ there is carbon present. Is that clear to all of you? ළමයි? Okay, others? All right. If you have any questions, please ask. And let's start writing.
Teacher, can you like explain the last bit again, please?
Yes. Last bit as in the lines drawing part.
A bit before that, the charcoal thing.
Yes, yes. Now, when you grind and crush them separately, no. So when you grind and crush them separately, you get separate pulps. Like paste එකකගේ pulp එකක් එනවා. And you put each pulp to separate crucibles. Spinach stems වලින් ආපු pulp එක මම වෙනම එකකට දානවා. Fish වලින් ආපු pulp එක වෙනම එකකට දානවා. Then chickpea වලින් ආපු pulp එක මම වෙනම එකකට දානවා. And then I heat them separately. So I actually have to heat them for like a long time. ගොඩක් වෙලා heat කරද්දි අන්තිමට නිකන් dark color pulp එකක් තමයි ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ. Dark වෙලා. Right? Then what I'm going to do is දැන් හිතන්න මේ pulp එක කියලා. I'm going to take this pulp. I'm going to take a white color piece of paper and I'm going to rub that pulp on the paper. Rub කරන තැන් වල මෙහෙම black color ඉරි වගේ ඇඳෙනවා නම් that means that pulp has coal. අඟුරු තියෙනවා ඒ කියන්නේ. අඟුරු කියලා කියන්නේ coal කියලා කියන්නේ carbon. Then that means that particular food item has carbon. Carbon තියෙන හින්දානේ coal වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Carbon තියෙන හින්දා තමයි when you heat it constantly it has become coal. Did you understand that, Sasheli?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Others, any questions? Okay, then let's start writing. Okay. Let's put a subtopic. Number 2 කියලා දාලා මේ test එක අපි ලියමු. Okay, you can write with me. Okay, now quickly write this. Make it really fast, huh? Quickly write. While you write this, give me 2 minutes. එතකම් මේක ලියන්න ළමයි, yeah? Okay, Lamai, what about others? Has everybody finished writing? Has everybody finished writing? Okay. All right. Last test of identification of elements, right? Then balanna අපේ elements list එකේ we wanted to identify carbon, we did. We wanted to identify hydrogen and oxygen, we did using water. Then there is nitrogen. ළමයි nitrogen identify කරන්න අපි කරන්නේ biurate test එකම තමයි. Do you all remember the biurate test? Biurate test එක අපි කරේ කලින් කොතනද? Why did we do the biurate test? Where did we learn the biurate test before? Where did we learn the biurate test before? Hmm? In proteins. To identify if proteins are present in food. ඒකම තමයි අපි මෙතනත් කරන්නේ. Right? So what I do is I'm gonna take some food items. Like I can take fish, some pieces of fish, some pieces of meat. Then I can take some egg white. So I take this food. If it's the egg white, I can just directly take it. Egg white I can directly ganna puluwan. But if I'm taking like fish or meat, I have to grind it, crush or grind it well with some water and then filter the solution. Let's say fish කෑල්ලක් කියලා. Fish නම් හොඳට එයාව grind කරනවා. හොඳට වතුර ටිකක් දාලා mix කරලා හොඳට grind කරනවා. Grind කරලා ඊට පස්සේ අපි filter කරනවා. Filter කරලා liquid part එක විතරක් ගන්නවා. Okay. අරගෙන what do I do? So let's say if it's egg white, මෙන්න මෙහෙම තියෙනවා. If it's fish or meat, I grind it with water, mix well, and then I filter. So I only get the liquid. මොකක්ද ඊළඟට biurate test එකේ කරේ? We added an extra amount of what? We added an extra amount of what? Sodium hydroxide. I'm talking about the biurate test. This is something we have learned. I add an extra amount of sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide. After that, what do I add? Yes. Yes. Others? After that, what do I add? Then I'm at උත්තරේ කිව්වේ. Yes. තුන් දෙනෙක් කිව්වා. This is the biurate test තමයි. We have done the biurate test before. 4 දෙනෙක් කිව්වා. 5 දෙනෙක් කිව්වා. Yes, it is copper sulfate. Yes, good. Copper sulfate එකක් දාන්න, just a few drops. Few drops of copper sulfate. So what is the observation here, Lamai? What is the observation that you can take here?
It turns purple color.
Yes. Like a dark blue වලට like a purple වගේ තමයි පේන්නේ. It's a purple color. So if you get a purple color, you know that there are proteins. Proteins තියනවා කියලා කියන්නේ, you know proteins have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So එතන nitrogen තියෙනවානේ. If we can confirm that proteins are present here, we can say proteins තියෙනවා, therefore nitrogen is there කියලා. Therefore for this test we are doing the same as the biurate test. Okay? Let's write that. Make a biurate test එකම තමයි. I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, you can ask. මාත් එකම ලියන්න ළමයි. And I need to make a small change here. Quite now or directly gonna pull off. Because it's anyways a liquid now. Quickly write this, Lamai. Make it fast. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Quickly finish writing. One more minute. Okay. So I hope all of you have finished writing. Let's move on. Need some time, Sandaru? I'll give you 1 more minute then. Okay, quickly write. All right. Now, Lamai, we talked about organic compounds, inorganic compounds. We talked about biomolecules, and then under that, we talked about carbohydrates, then proteins, then lipids, and then nucleic acids. And then at the end, we talked about some tests that we can do to see if all these elements are present in biomolecules, right? ඒක තමයි මෙච්චර වෙනකන් කරේ. Now we are going to learn about water, right? Why do we learn about water? Because water is important for everything. If you take your body weight, usually like 2/3 වගේ තියෙන water, right? So that means, let's say your weight is 60 kilograms. If your weight is 60 kilograms, 40 kilograms වගේම තියෙන water. 2/3 වගේම water තියෙන. And then what else do you need water for? Hydration. Your body needs water for its functions. And then nature ke water one, aquatic organisms are water one, right? So water is important for so many things, right? Life, life ke like let's say organisms like human beings or animals or plants or microorganisms. None of these organisms can exist without water. So water is that important. What is the chemical formula of water? We already discussed. That is H2O. That means hydrogen is present, oxygen is present. Now, Ramai, we are going to talk about some properties of water, right? Water really important properties monada and a properties kohomada api nature ke use karanne. So e wage dewal ටිකක් අපි discuss කරන්න යන්න. Before we discuss the properties, we will put a small subtopic and we will write water. Make a mark එකම ලියන්න. 2/3 කියන්නේ 2/3. Now, I hope you remember we talked about, like we talked previously, like organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Apike organic compounds can generally carbon තියෙන කට්ටිය, right? Inorganic compounds can generally carbon නැති කට්ටිය. Under inorganic compounds, we learned some examples like water, then minerals and gases. Those are examples of inorganic compounds, okay? Quickly write these 3 points and then we'll talk about the properties. Okay. Now, for some of these, I'm actually going to give you as homework to write, right? So, ekine udara class ke hagen inna because you will have to write these as homework. So, we are going to discuss the tables that you can find on the textbook, right? On the textbook, can you all go to page 15? How about my textbook? Anybody who doesn't have the textbook? Anybody who does not have the textbook, please raise your hands. All right. Anyone else? Okay. What I will do is I will share the textbook. Let me share the screen. Okay. No worries. Let me share the screen. Can you all see my screen, Lamai? Can all of you see my screen? Okay, great. This is on page 15. So textbook එක නැති අයට මම textbook එක සමහරට PDF එකක් group එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා, right? So when I give some of these as homework for you all to write, go through that PDF and write. Now here we are actually going to be talking about different like specific properties. Specific properties can be special. මේ properties waterවල තියෙන properties they're very special. එතන මොනවාද මේ properties කියලා අපි කතා කරනවා, and then next we are going to talk about how they contribute to maintain life. How these contribute for all organisms to live, right? Let's see. Water is a good solvent. Water කියන්නේ හොඳ solvent එකක්. What is a solvent? In your own terms, what do you think a solvent means? ඔයගොල්ලන් හිතන විදිහට what is a solvent? As you think, just give me an idea only. I don't need too much, just an idea. What kind of a thing is a solvent? Yeah. A liquid, a fluid. Okay, what else? Anything else? Anything else about a solvent? So a solvent is something where other things can come and dissolve. Let's say you test a soluble thing. Let's say you take some water and you take some sugar and you dissolve the sugar in water. It will nicely dissolve, right? So therefore we say water is a good solvent. Sugar avila water athula dissolve una. Salt dissolves in water, right? Then let's say lab එකේ ගත්තොත් most of these chemicals they dissolve in water. Therefore water is a good solvent. Then අපි බලමු how that contributes for life. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් organisms are survive වෙන කොහොමද මේ property එක useful වෙන්නේ? Let's see. Provides a medium for biochemical reactions in the cells of organisms. Now, in our body, in the cells, there are different chemical reactions. Body එක ඇතුළේ වෙන chemical reactions hinda, we call them biochemical reactions. Okay. So, for all of these biochemical reactions, the medium is water. Because inside the cell, there's a lot of water, right? Cell එක ඇතුළේ water ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. Therefore, that water provides a good medium for biochemical reactions. Okay. Can ඔක්කොම cell එක ඇතුළේ වෙන reactions. Then the main constituent in the extracellular fluids of organisms. What is this extracellular fluid? මේක මම පස්සේ ලියන්න දෙන්නම්. For now, just listen. මොනවත් අඳින්න ඕනේ නැහැ, just listen. දැන් අපේ body එකේ ළමයි cells තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Cells are like this. Now, you know, inside the cells, there's water in it. That's why they say provide a medium for biochemical reactions. But not just inside the cells, Lamai. Outside the cells also, there's water. Here, extracellular means outside the cells. Extra කියන්නේ වැඩිපුර තියනවා කියන එක නෙවෙයි මෙතන. Extracellular means outside the cells. Not just inside the cells, but outside the cells also you can find water. ඒක අපි කියන extracellular fluids කියලා. organisms ගේ cell එකෙන් එළියේ තියෙන liquid උත් ඔක්කොම water වලින් හැදිලා තියෙනවා. Then facilitates the removal of excretory material and fecal matter. What does that mean? Now, this might be based on like a personal experience, or you may have seen like animals or even like human beings. අගේ අපි නිතරම experience කරන දෙයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Let's say you don't drink enough water. Let's say සතියක් විතර you don't drink enough water, you drink very less amount of water. What happens when you defecate? Defecate means feces. When you remove feces from your body, will it be easy or difficult? I mean, you don't have to be embarrassed to say it, right? It's a common experience. If you don't drink enough water, how will that experience be? Removing feces from your body. How will it be? Easy or difficult? Yeah, bad, difficult. Why? Without water, your feces becomes very dry. Dry වුණාම feces වලට අමාරුයි body එකේ move වෙන්න. Okay. But if you drink a lot of water, your feces is very like moist. It has a lot of water. Then it's easy to remove feces from your body. That is why we say facilitates the removal of fecal matter. Then excretory material කියන්නේ මොනවාද? Feces කියන්නේ excretory material එකක් නෙවෙයි. Excretory materials are එකක් urine. අනිත් එක තමයි sweat. What about urine? Let's say on a particular day you don't drink enough water. Water ගොඩාක් කියන්නේ අඩුවෙන් බොන්නේ. පොඩ්ඩයි බොන්නේ. Will your urine be like more yellow or more pale? Like white පැත්තට හුද්ද හුරුවාගේ urine වල colour එක, or will it be more yellow? More yellow. You have experience, no? I mean, again, it's a common experience. I have experience. I don't have to be embarrassed to say that I have experience. On days when I don't drink enough water, urine is very yellow. That is because now urine කියන්නේ ළමයි අපේ body එකේ තියෙන toxic දේවල් ටික. In your body also there are a lot of toxins. That toxin තමයි urine විදියට release වෙන්නේ. So if you don't drink enough water, all the toxins are very concentrated. වතුර නෑ නේතන. ඒකයි ගොඩාක් yellow color වලට තියෙන්නේ. It's actually not very good. ඒතර වාගේ urine remove කරන urine travel කරන ඔක්කොම channels, the urethra, that is where urine is put out of the body. ඒ ඔක්කොම inflame වෙනවා. අය අර toxic ගතිය වැඩි වෙනවා වගේ urine වල. But if you drink a lot of water, your urine will be like towards the white. White කියන්නේ colorless වගේ. Not exactly colorless, it will be like slightly yellow. That is good because even though there are toxins, the toxins are dissolved in a lot of water. Okay? So, not just urine, lama, even sweat. On days, or let's say a few days, you don't drink water, then your sweat is naturally more smelly. Right? Samane, in a order, bad order, right? But let's say you drink a lot of water, generally your sweat will not smell as bad. Right? That is because even sweat is like the toxins in your body. Sweat ekka body ekේ තියෙන toxins release වෙනවා. So if you don't drink enough water, your toxins will be very concentrated. ඒකයි ගඳ එන්නේ. But if you drink a lot of water, water එකක dissolve වෙලා නිකන් අර සර ගතිය, toxic ගතිය අඩු වෙලා තමයි even sweat release වෙන්නේ. Then it's not as bad of an odor as the previous example. Okay? So therefore, when we drink a lot of water, it helps to remove feces as well as excretory material. Then, important in respiration of aquatic organisms. Aquatic organisms are respirate karaddi. When they breathe, they also need oxygen. No? Where do they get this oxygen? Where do aquatic organisms get the oxygen? Where do aquatic organisms get the oxygen? From water. Now, api kohen the oxygen gani? We get oxygen from air. Right? We get oxygen from air. So, if aquatic organisms are getting oxygen from water, that means atmosphere ke thin oxygen tika water will dissolve වෙන්න ne? Whatever the oxygen that is in the atmosphere has to dissolve in water. Water will dissolve වෙලා තමයි aquatic organisms water වලින් oxygen ගන්න. So that is also an example for water being a good solvent. Since water is a good solvent, oxygen in the atmosphere can dissolve in water. So all of these examples are they show that water is a good solvent. It provides a medium for biochemical reactions, right? The biochemical reactions ඔක්කොම ඒගොල්ලන්ට good හොඳ solvent medium එකක් තියෙනවා water. Extracellular fluids ඒ කියන්නේ cells වලින් එළියේ තියෙනෙත් water, a good solvent again. When we remove excretory material of feces, they mix in water and dissolve. Sorry, mix in water and release. So again, water is a good solvent there. Then when aquatic organisms are breathing, when they respirate, they need oxygen. They get that oxygen from water. If water will go in the oxygen, atmosphere ke thin oxygen, water will dissolve. Again, water was a good solvent there. Is that clear? How water is a good solvent? Did you understand that these 4 points? Others? Ovanya, Yasit, Joshua, Stephanie, Anya, Sala, Kushit. All right. Then let's move on to the next part. Let me erase this and let's move on to the next one. A coolant. මොකද coolant එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ? Due to high specific heat capacity, amount of heat needed to increase temperature by 1 degrees in 1 kilogram of mass. Don't worry about the definition. Specific heat capacity මොනවාද කියලා ඔයගලන්ගේ දැන් අහන්නේ, right? It's something that we are going to be learning much later. The body temperature does not fluctuate quickly with changes in the environment. That means, Lamai, now when you take water, water has a good heat capacity. Heat capacity ka kila kiyanne, now let's say you have water at 25 degrees Celsius. You have water at 25 degrees Celsius. Let's say I want to increase this temperature to 26 degrees Celsius. Okay. 1 degree එකක් වැඩි කරන්න. 25 degrees Celsius වල තියෙන water. I want to increase the temperature to 26 degrees Celsius. Just 1 degree. එහෙම වැඩි කරන්න නම් ළමයි මම ගොඩාක් heat එකක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද මෙයාගේ ලොකු heat capacity එකක් තියෙනවා. So let's say a person, let's say I have a good, let's say emotional capacity. Let's say I have a good emotional capacity, right? If I have a good emotional capacity, let's say ගොඩාක් negative දේවල් මට වෙනවා කියලා. ගොඩාක් negative දේවල් වෙදී ඔක්කොම මට tolerate කරන්න පුළුවන් එළියට පේන්නේ නැති වෙන්න. From the outside people will think I'm okay, but on the inside I have a lot of problems. But ඒ ඔක්කොම මම tolerate කරන් ඉන්නවා මොකද මට ලොකු emotional capacity එකක් තියෙනවා. So මට ගොඩාක් ඉවසන්න පුළුවන්. Right? එතකොට මම ඒ කියන්නේ එළියට පේන්නේ නැහැ. ඒතර ඉවසලා tolerate කරලා බැරිම තැන තමයි it will start to show. නේද? ඒ වගේ තමයි water. Water has a good heat capacity. It will absorb a lot of heat without changing the temperature. Without changing the temperature කියන්නේ without showing to the world. එළියට පේන්නේ නැති වෙන්න එයාට ගොඩාක් heat absorb කරන්න පුළුවන්. Absorb කරලා බැරිම තැන තමයි එයා 1 degree එකකින් temperature එක වැඩි කරන්නේ. හරියට නිකන් emotional capacity හොඳට තියෙන කෙනෙක් ගොඩාක් කියන්නේ නරක දේවල් වුණත් they tolerate all of that and tolerate කරන බැරිම තැන තමයි ආයෙක එළියට පෙන්නන්නේ. ඒ වගේ water heat ගොඩාක් absorb කරලා බැරිම තැන තමයි 1 degree එකක් වැඩි කරන්නේ. So that means for water to increase the temperature by 1 degrees, it need ගොඩාක් temperature දෙන්න. ගොඩාක් heat එක දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ පොඩි heat දුන්නා කියලා එයාගේ මේ temperature එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. water වල. So that is very important, Lama, because if you take my body, in my body and your body too, 2/3 තියෙන water. If your body weight is 60 kilograms, 40 kilograms is water. Let's say water වල heat capacity එක අඩුයි කියලා. පොඩි heat එකක් ආවොත් ඔයගේ body temperature එක වැඩි වෙනවා. අයි වතුරනේ වැඩියෙන්ම තියෙන්නේ. Okay. පොඩි heat එකක් ආවත් එයාගේ capacity එක අඩුයි නම් ටක් ගාලා temperature එක වැඩි වෙනවා. So then your body temperature will quickly increase. That is not a good thing. But thankfully, water has a high specific heat capacity. So temperature එක පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්නේ එළියේ heat එක පොඩ්ඩක් එහාට මෙහාට වුණා කියලා ඔයාගේ body temperature එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Why? Because all that heat will be absorbed by water without changing the temperature. ගොඩක් ලොකු heat එකක් ආවොත් විතරයි ඔයාගේ body එකේ තියෙන water ඒ heat එක absorb කරලා a lot of heat will be absorbed by the water in your body. And ඔක්කොම absorb කළ බැරිම තැන it will increase the temperature by 1 degrees. Okay. So therefore your body temperature does not change all the time. පොඩි heat ආවා කියලා ටක් ගාලා body temperature එක එහාට මෙහාට වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So that helps to keep your body temperature constant. That is why we say it's a coolant. එයා ටක් ගාලා රත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. It stays cool even when there is heat coming. Small heat now doesn't matter. Okay. Did you understand that? Give me a thumbs up, please. Okay. This table you have to study. Questions will ahana meka. And MCQs වලත් ahana. I will give you the worksheet. බලමු අපිට අද ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි චුට්ටක් ඉතුරු වෙයි අද. Right? So next week මම අනිවාර්යෙන් worksheet එක එවන්නම්. එතකොට so worksheet I told you, worksheet I make using O-level past papers and some provincial papers sometimes, right? When you do the worksheet, you will get a very good idea of how questions are asked. Make lesson එකේ කොහොමද questions අහන්නේ කියලා හොඳ idea එකක් එනවා, right? And also you will get a good practice in doing past සාමාන්‍ය O-level past papers කරන්නේ grade 11 වලනේ. Grade 11 වල after the syllabus is over only we start past papers. But grade 11 වෙනකන් යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. උගන්ට දැම්මම හොඳ you get a good experience and a good exposure for doing past papers when we do worksheets. So that is something very important. Even if we don't, yeah, so I don't think we'll be able to finish because we have minerals and vitamins. But next week I will give you the worksheet. Okay. But this table, yes, they ask this in questions. So mama meka කලින් උගලන්ට කියන්න නැති don't try to memorize like a parrot. Okay. Because usually O-level paper එක හදද්දිත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ standards ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ standards වලින් main standard එක තමයි කටපාඩම් කරන කෙනාට answer කරන්න අමාරුයි. Okay. Usually if you are someone who memorizes like a parrot all the time, සමහරවිට meaning එකවත් හිතන්නේ නැතුව ඔයගොල්ලෝ memorize කරනවා නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට paper එක ලියන්න අමාරු වෙනවා. That is how I don't know how school papers are made because that is out of my control or out of my knowledge. But I know how the O-level past paper is made. Okay. ඒක හදද්දී ඔයගොල්ලන් බලන්නේ කවුද හරියට පාඩම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. පාඩම් කරනවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? කිරවෙක් වගේ කටපාඩම් කරන එක නෙවෙයි. පාඩම් කරනවා කියන්නේ you understand the contents. You understand the contents and you understand the concept. ඔයාගේ ඔළුවට හොඳට concept එක ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවද? ඒ concept එක apply කරන්න ඔයාලට තේරෙනවද? That is what they are trying to test. Okay? So very rarely only you have to memorize things. So rather than memorizing, try to understand. මේ table එක උනත් ඔයගොල්ලන් ලොකු effort එකක් දීලා කටපාඩම් කරන්න හදන්න එපා. Okay? So now today you are learning this, no? Tomorrow just go through this table a bit. Day after tomorrow also go through this table a bit. එමෙම දවස් 3-4ක් මේක go through කරාම මේක automatically ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඔළුවට යනවා. උනන්දුවෙන් go through කරොත්. Okay? So that is something that I want to tell you from the beginning of grade 10 because දැනුත් ඕගොල්ලන් memorize parrot memorization වලට හුරු වුණොත් ඒක habit එකක් වෙනවා. Maybe you're still, maybe like you're already like used to memorizing like a parrot, but if you continue to do that, it will become a habit, and it's not a good habit, and it's a very toxic habit. ඊට පස්සේ habit එක මේ අයින් කරන්න හරි අමාරුයි. Because I have had students in my previous batches, I may have told you this a few times, memorize කරන අයට pass papers කරන්න හරිම අමාරුයි. කියන්නේ කටපා memorize කියන්නේ තේරුම් අරන් පාඩම් කරන එක නෙවෙයි මම කියන්නේ කටපාඩම් කරන එක. ඒගොල්ලන්ට pass papers ලියන්න හරිම අමාරුයි. So I have a like few cases. I remember a few students මට හොඳට මතක තියෙන ළමයි කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලන් කටපාඩම් කරා මාරු විදියට. කටපාඩම් කරපු හින්දා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ගොඩක් දේවල් හරියට කරගන්න අමාරු වුණා. So I had to like personally help them to like properly study instead of memorizing. And එක habit එකක් වුණාට පස්සේ ඒක අයින් කරන්න හරි අමාරුයි. So if you already have a habit of කටපාඩම්, now would be the time to stop that. ඔගා හිතලම ඒක නවත්තන්න try කරන්න. බොරුවට මේ වචනේ කටපාඩම් කරන්න යන්න එපා. Because it takes a lot of energy ළමයි. ඔගලා, you know what, you don't have a lot of brain capacity. You may think you have a lot of brain capacity, but you don't. Even I don't have that much brain capacity. එහෙම තමයි මිනිස්සු හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ, right? ඒක හින්දා ඔයගලන්ට memorize කරලා අර වචනෙන් කටපාඩම් කරවේ ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න එච්චර ඉඩ ගන්න හොඳ නැහැ. Okay, because this space, since you don't have a lot of capacity, whatever the space you have in your brain is very important. අපි ඒක පරිස්සමෙන් use කරන්න ඕනේ space ටික. Okay. ඒක මම දැම්ම ඉඳන්ම මෙච්චර weight එකක් දාලා මෙච්චර highlight කරලා කියන්න reason එක, now would be a good time to break that habit if you have it already. And if you don't have it, please don't do it. Okay. මොකද ඔක පුරුදු වුණොත්, ඔක හුරු වුණොත් හරි අමාරුයි ගලව ගන්න. Okay. So ඒකයි මම ගොඩක් අර මෙන්න මේ වගේ tables වලට ආවම ඔයගොල්ලන් you are tempted to memorize කටපාඩම්. ඒකයි මම මේ වගේ table එකක් ආපු තැනම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කිව්වේ කටපාඩම් කරන්න යන්න එපා, නිකන් read කරලා understand කරන්න. A good way to study would be act like a teacher. I know some of you already do this. Then for an example, let's say, then I have been teaching O levels for, let's say, how long? 6 years? 6.5? Yeah, around that much. එතකොට දැන් I mean, I have experience now, so I don't like go through your material. මම class එකට ආපු ගමන් class එක කරනවා. But මම classes start කරපු මුල කාලේ, before the class I spend about 1 hour going through your material. Right, මම ඔයගලන් material go through කරලා මොනවාද ඔයගන්ට උගන්වන්නේ ඔක්කොම go through කරලා බලනවා. Okay? So එතකොට even a teacher without going through, ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් මම classes කරපු මුල කාලේ මට ලොකු experience එකක් තිබුණේ නැහනේ. Even in that stage I had to go through, even if it's O level material. මම go through කරේ නැත්තම් මට මතකෙ හිටින්නේ නැහැ. දැන් මම එක දිගට අවුරුදු 6ක් classes කරපු හින්දා I remember all the words in your syllabus in my head. දැන් මම දන්න හින්දා මම දන්නවා. But let's say I stop doing classes for like 1 or 2 years and I get the book again. මට මේ සමහරව මතක නැහැ. I will have to check again. I will have to remember again. That is how the human brain is made. So ඔයගලන්ට මොකක් හරි දෙයක් අමතක වුණොත්, පාඩම් කරනවා අමතක වෙනවා කියන එක ඔයගලන්ගේ fault එකක් නෙවෙයි. Some people tend to have a bit of more capacity. Some people tend to have a bit of less capacity. That is not a big deal. Okay? Key to studying is always revising. අද ඔයා 2 hours spend කරලා study කරොත් ආයෙ මාසයක් විතර මේක බැලුවේ නැත්නම් ආයෙ තව 2 hours spend කරලා ආයෙ study කරන්න වෙනවා. That is a waste of time. Okay? If you studied today and you like, let's say, spend 5 minutes every day to revise, just 5 minutes. That's not a big deal. No? Just 5 minutes every day to revise. මේක හොඳට ඔළුවේ මතක හිටිනවා. This is not the only table. මේ ඉස්සරහ තව tables එනවා set එකක්. මේව ඔක්කොම කටපාඩම් කරන්න ගියොත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ වෙන වැඩක් කරන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Okay? So as I was saying, one of the easiest ways to study is to act like a teacher. And again, අර මං කලින් කියපු එක දැන් මම ඉස්සර classes කරපු මුල කාලේ about like 5 years ago, I went through all of your materials before teaching you. Right? And then teach කරද්දි මම හොඳට උගන්ට තේරෙනවද? දැන් කියන්නේ ඒක ඉස්සර නෙවෙයි දැන් උනත් වචනෙන් වචනේ උගන්ට ඔක්කොම හොඳට තේරෙනවද කියලා බලනවා මම. ඒ වගේ ඔයගොල්ලන් තව කෙනෙකුට teach කරන්න try කරන්න. I mean, it doesn't have to be a real person. It can be someone imaginary. It can be like a toy or something. It doesn't even have to be anything. Just imagine somebody before you and act like a teacher. So teacher කෙනෙක් වුණාම මේ ඔක්කොම තේරුම් දැන් මම දන්නේ නැත්තම් මට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට උගන්වන්න බැහැනේ. ඒ වගේ ඔයගොල්ලන් do like a pretend game. Pretend like a teacher and act like you're teaching to like an audience of students. That is actually a very good way to study. එක මම දන්නවා සමහර අය already try කරනවා කියලා. But ළමයි වැඩි try කරනවා මදි. It's an underrated method of studying because it really works. I have like so many students who have tried that and it works. සමහර අය වැඩි කැමති නෑ කරන්න because it's like a lot of extra effort and work here. But I think it's a good way to study. You guys can try it and let me know. Okay? All right. So this is about water being a good coolant. Yes. Then, high cohesive and adhesive forces. What does that mean? Now, when we talk about මම blood ගැන කතා කරන්න කලින් gas ගැන කතා කරන්න. Right? If you take a tree, where does the tree get all this water? Water I can drink water. What about a tree? Where does a tree get water? Excuse me. Yes. Yes, rain වලින් තමයි. ඒතර කොහෙන්ද soil වලින් එන්නේ. How does it get the water from the soil? Roots කොහොමද soil? I said the answer. It's roots. How does a plant get the water from the soil? Through roots. Roots වලින් තමයි water ටික ගන්න. So these are the roots. So plant will obtain the water from the soil through the roots. And මේ water ටික උඩට යන්න ඕනේ. Because roots වලට විතරක් නෙවෙයිනේ water ඕනේනේ. Branches need water. Then fruits need water, flowers need water, leaves need water. So whatever the water that the roots absorb, that water has to be transported upwards. හැබැයි ළමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හිතන්න මම මෙහෙම බෝලයක් අතාරිනවා කියලා. බෝලයක් or whatever, some object. I just release it. Will it ever automatically go up or will it go down? If I just let go of an object that is in my hand, yes, it will automatically go down because of gravity. Gravity වලින් හැමදේම පල්ලෙහාට තමයි ආදින්නේ. But here, the water absorbed by the roots, that water will go up. How will it go up? යන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි. හිතන්න එක water molecule එකක් යනවා. Let's say this is one water molecule. Let's say it goes up. එයාට attach වෙලා තමයි අනිත් water molecule එකක් තියෙන්නේ. එයාට attach වෙලා තව water molecule එකක් ඉන්නවා. එයාට attach වෙලා තව එකක්. එයාට attach වෙලා තව එකක්. Likewise, between these water molecules there are forces. එකෙන් උඩට යනකොට අනිත් ඔක්කොම ටික ඇදගෙන යන්නේ. like අර අපි polymer යනවා කියලා චූටි කාලේ යන්නේ. right? polymer යනවා කියලා we make a queue. And then අර අපි මම ඉන්නවනම් මම ඉස්සරහ කෙනාගේ shoulders අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නවා. මගේ පිටිපස්සේ කෙනා මගේ shoulders අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නවා. So we make a queue. චූටි කාලේ like nursery කාලේ හැම ළමයි වෙහෙට මෙනෙක්කන් යන්නේ. polymer යනවා කියලා. So ඒ වගේ තමයි water molecules. When they are going up or when they are going down, when water is transported anywhere, if one water molecule is going before, all the other water molecules are getting dragged. Why? Because between these water molecules there are bonds. හරියට නිකන් polymer යනකොට ළමයිට මෙහෙම අර මම නම් ඉස්සරහ කෙනාගේ shoulders අල්ලන් ඉන්නවා වගේ. There are like bonds. These bonds are called cohesive forces. Okay? Between water molecules there are bonds. They are called cohesive forces. So with the cohesive forces, water, if one water molecule is going, all the other water molecules behind that will be dragged forward wherever it goes. Okay. Then what are adhesive forces? Adhesive forces කියනම හිතන්න දැන් මෙන්න මේක තමයි plant එකේ trunk එක. කඳ, stem එක. When water molecules are like moving, හිතන්න මේ water molecules මේ උඩට උඩට යනවා කියලා. යද්දි I told you between these water molecules there are cohesive forces. Cohesive කියන්නේ between water molecules there are forces. Not just between water molecules. There are forces between water molecules and the wall of the stem. So water molecule එකයි stem එකයි wall එකයි අතරෙත් එක එක forces හැදෙනවා. That helps water to move. Not just the wall of the stem. Water ගිහිල්ලා වෙන වෙනවත් එක්ක පොඩි පොඩි bonds හදනවා නම් we call them adhesive forces. So when you take water අතරේ හැදෙන forces වලට we call them cohesive forces. If water makes a force or a bond or an attraction with something else, we call it an adhesive force. So because water has these cohesive and adhesive forces, it is very easy to transport water. ලස්සනට flow වෙනවා water. Water හරිම ලේසියෙන් flow වෙනවා because of that. හිතන්න පොලිමක ළමයි යද්දී ඔයගොල්ලන් පොලිමේ ගිහලා තියෙනවද ළමයි පොඩි කාලේ? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I mean here? When I say ළමයි පොලිමේ යනවා වගේ කියලා ඔයගන්ට තේරෙනවද? අර ඔයගොල්ලන් යන්නේ චූටි කාලේ? Nursery කාලේ grade 1 2 ඉන්නකොට yeah. When one child is like එක්කෙනෙක් ඉස්සරහන් යනවා අනිත් අය යාගේ shoulders අල්ලන් ඉන්නවා ඊට පස්සේ යාව තව කෙනෙක් අල්ලන් ඉන්නවා එහෙම මේ පිටිපස්සට පොලිමක් හැදෙනවා. So එහෙම යනකොට මාර neat නේද? So there's it's very smooth, very easy to like monitor or to manage the students moving. And there's a nice flow, it's very smooth. හැබැයි හිතන්න ළමයි පොලිමක් නැතුව randomly ඔය හැමතැනම යනවා කියලා. Imagine like nursery or grade 1 2 kids, they're very like chaotic no. So they will move randomly here and there. ළමයි හොයාගන්නත් බැරි. It's very messy. Then it's not smooth. It doesn't have nice flow. ඒ වගේ තමයි water. Right? Because of these cohesive and adhesive forces, water has a nice flow. It's very easy to transport water. එතකොට plant එකක් ගත්තොත් roots වලින් absorb කරන water ලේසියෙම very easily and very smoothly that water will be transported upwards to the rest of the plant. Not just in plants, in animals also. Now in animals, that means like us, there are other animals, we have blood. අපේ body එකේ blood තියෙනවානේ. Blood වලත් ළමයි වැඩියෙන්ම තියෙන water. Okay. Because of that, මේ තියෙන මෙතන blood being the main constituent of blood, it helps to transport nutrients, vitamins and hormones. එතකොට blood වලත් වැඩියෙන්ම තියෙන water නේ. So එතකොට blood flow වෙනකොට water flow වෙනවා. So between water there are cohesive forces. Then හිතන්න water වල කියන්නේ blood වල nutrients, vitamins, hormones are transported නේ. Then this water in blood forms adhesive forces with vitamins, minerals, hormones and all that. එතකොට water යනකොට ඒවත් එක්කම අර vitamins, minerals ඇදිලා යනවා. Okay. So therefore, since water has cohesive and adhesive forces, it's very easy for blood to move around and carry different things like vitamins, minerals, hormones, because blood has a lot of water. In plants also, it's very easy for water to be transported throughout the plant. Okay. Is that clear to all of you? Others? Okay. Right. Let's talk about the last point. Differential expansion in freezing. Density of water is higher than density of ice. When ice is formed, they come to top layers of water, keeping water as it is in the bottom. This provides living environment for aquatic organisms. Allow me to explain this last point. I will get my whiteboard again. A last point එකට විතරක් මම ආයෙමත් whiteboard එකට යනවා. Give me a second. Can everybody see the whiteboard? All right, differential expansion in freezing. Now you know any solid, when you heat it, it becomes a liquid. And any liquid, when you heat it, it becomes a gas. And any gas, when you cool it, it becomes a liquid. And any liquid, when you cool it, it becomes a solid. One example is water. Water රත් කරොත් gas එකක් වෙනවා, steam වෙනවා, and water cool කරොත් ice වෙනවා. Right? Usually අපි ගත්තොත් generally if you compare solids and liquids, you know what solids are, you know what liquids are. Which one do you think has a higher density? Forget about water or anything like that. Generally solids and liquids ගත්තොත්, do you think solids have a higher density or liquids have a higher density? Solids or liquids? Yeah. Yes, generally solids have a higher density. Yes. හැබැයි water වල මේක වෙනස්. What happens in water is ළමයි, when water forms ice, ice is the solid, no, water is a liquid. Ice වල density water වලට වඩා අඩුයි. I mean, generally liquid should have a lower density, solid should have a higher density නේ. හැබැයි ice වල එහෙම නෑ. Ice වල density එක water වලට වඩා අඩුයි. Then what happens during the winter period? There are like rivers and lakes and all these water bodies, no? Meval aquatic organisms are no? Fishes and plants and are so plants. So since it's very cold, the water will start to form ice. Ice. Now the density of ice is less than the density of water. So will the ice move up or will the ice move down? Density of ice is less than the density of water. So then ice because of the cold. Will the ice move up or down? Okay. Others, what do you think? Will the ice move up or down? Yes. Density අඩුයි කියන්නේ හැමලේම උඩට යනවානේ. So මේ තනින් තන හැදෙන ice ඔක්කොම උඩට ගිහිල්ලා උඩ එකතු වෙලා it will form a layer above. An ice layer above. උඩ හදනවා ice layer එකක්. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, you think it's a good thing. Why is it a good thing? ඇයි ice එක පල්ලෙහාට කියලා පල්ලෙහා layer එකක් හදුවට කමක් නැද්ද? කමක් කියන්නේ is that a problem? I mean, let's say මෙහෙම නැතුව hypothetically ඇත්ත නෙවෙයි imaginary. Let's say ice ටික ඔහොම නැතුව මෙහෙම පල්ලෙහාට sink වෙලා පල්ලෙහා layer එකක් හදනවා. It's very ugly, no? Let me redraw like this. So there are different like ice forming in water and all the ice, let's say, move down and form a layer here. What will happen? So you're saying that this is a good thing and this is a bad thing. Yes. It's bad for animals and not just animals. It's bad for plants. Give me 1 second. Lama, don't leave the meeting. I need like 2 more minutes. Huh? Okay. So I did get, don't move the board. So I kind of did get the answer from y'all. Lamai, ice palleha hadunot. What will happen to all the, now let's say ice was formed down here. What will happen to all the plants here? Plants took a marinade because plants don't have the ground to grow. Ice took a cover. Okay. No plants and then animals that lamai හැම වෙලෙම surface එක වතුර වල උඩ surface එකේ නෙවෙයි. Animals චුට්ටක් පල්ලෙහාට වෙලා අර plants ගොඩේ එහෙමනේ animals අත ඉන්නේ. Like let's say I'm not talking about I'm not talking about deep sea. I'm talking about rivers, lakes and water bodies. They are not very deep no. සාමාන්‍ය depth එකක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. So underneath like at the bottom of the lake or river or whatever there are plants, aquatic plants. සාමාන්‍ය ගොඩක් ෆිෂ් ලාරේ මේ උඩට ආවට ඒගොල්ලන් ඉන්නේ ගොඩක් පල්ලෙහා. අර plants ගොඩේ move වෙවි එහෙම තමයි fish ලා ඉන්නේ. So if ice was formed down here, what happens is that all the plants will get damaged. මේ plants ඉන්න තැනනේ ආවිල ice හැදෙන්නේ. And animals are also usually around here no. So animals also are harmed. Animals අරත් එතකොට ඉන්න තැනක් නැති වෙනවා. That is why this is a bad situation and this is a good situation because ice will form on the top because the density of ice is less, so ice will move up and it will form a layer at the top. එතකොට පල්ලෙහා space එක හොඳට ඉතුරු වෙනවා. Aquatic organisms අර plants can stay, animals can stay. Their habitat or their house, the place they live, do not get destroyed. Do you understand why it's important? Is it clear, Lamai? Okay. Anybody who did not understand that? Okay. All right. Ekai Lamai, usually when like liquids are cooled and solids are formed, solids, 1 second, give me, I will answer to that. When liquids are cooled, solids are formed, generally solids have a higher density. හැබැයි water වල විතරක් එක වෙනස්. Water වල විතරක් වෙනස්. ඇයි? Because water, when it's cooled and ice is formed, the density is less, unlike in other situations, right? That is why we call it differential expansion of freezing. So the question is, so oxygen comes from the plants. Plants වලින් oxygen එනවා photosynthesis වලදී. Right? Plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis, but plants also need oxygen for respiration. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට winter කාලෙට plants සමහරව inactive වෙනවා. ඒක land එකේ තියෙන plants උත් එහෙමයි, water වල තියෙන plants උත් එහෙමයි. They become inactive and then winter ඉවර වුණාම ආයෙ active වෙනවා. Inactive කාලෙට ඒගොල්ලන් shape එකේ survive වෙන්න පුළුවන් without like ලොකුවට oxygen ඕනේ නැහැ, ලොකුවට අරමේ ඕනේ නැතුව they can survive. shape එකේ survive වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ගොඩක් plants වලට. Okay. But yes, aquatic plants also for respiration they need oxygen. අපි වගේම ඒගොල්ලොනුත් respirate කරනවා. But they do something additional called photosynthesis. That is how they produce their own food. ඒකෙදී ඒගොල්ලන් oxygen release කරනවා. But anyways, even if ice is formed on top, may ice continuous නෑනේ තනින් තන cracks එහෙම තියෙනවා. ඒ cracks වලින් එළිය කියන්නේ atmospheric in gases ඒ cracks වලින් වතුරට යනවා. එතකොට aquatic organisms that have oxygen හම්බ වෙනවා. If that's the question you're asking, now let's say there's fish here. මෙම ice layer එකක් හැදුනාම එළියේ තියෙන oxygen එන්න විදියක් නෑනේ water වලට. Then මෙයාට breathe කරන oxygen නැතුව this animal will die. But එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Usually ගොඩක් මෙම ice තිබ්බට there are like ice is not like continuous plate. When we watch movies and documentaries and stuff, අපිට පේන්නේ නිකන් එහෙම continuous තියනවා වගේ, but there are like cracks and stuff. So oxygen or any other gas can go through those cracks and dissolve in water. So the aquatic organisms that avashya oxygen, they get it. Okay. The writing part of that water, kind of water වල properties tika writing part එක we will do it next week. So next week we will properly finish this lesson and we might do the second lesson. So we finished water. One second. We finished water and we have to do minerals. That is very easy. Not going to take too much time. And then vitamins, again, not going to take too long. And then we can move on to the second lesson. That is linear motion. Okay. Okay. Then අපි කොහොමත් මුල දවස්වල අපි ගොඩක් slow නේ. We were like trying to pick up the pace. We were trying to like slowly get familiar with the syllabus and all that. But now we can speed up. Now you are familiar with the syllabus, you are familiar with the class. So now we can speed up. Shape එක speed කරන්න පුළුවන් දැන්. Okay? So we will end the class today.